Good evening and welcome to the Mancunian Way to Thursday night chat with myself, Pat, Rich and Ed. Martin won't be joining us tonight, I'm afraid. He's got prior engagements and things going on that he needs to deal with. So he sends his apologies, and it's more likely he won't be in or around much next week either. But he will be back soon. So yeah. How are we, gentlemen? All well, I hope?
Very good. Very wet.
Yes. So you're getting as much rain as we are here?
Yes, just overnight. It was torrential.
Yeah. See, his north is different to other norths, I'm afraid. It's usually always sunny in his north.
Are you two ready to complain about the weather down under?
Yeah.
No, just trying to show that there's a north-south divide in Sydney.
You know, it actually rains more in Sydney than Manchester. It just does it on about half the number of days.
Yep.
It's usually probably a lot warmer when it does it as well, Rich.
We've just had a month's rain in a day. So it's pretty wet.
Wow. It's always nice when we talk about the weather, isn't it?
It's very British. I feel at home when I'm chatting about the weather. Going back to my roots.
Ed, how are you, mate?
Look at him.
There he
Humble
is.
brag. Look at that sky.
Got out of the kitchen.
He's not working out today, obviously. He's somewhere out and about, enjoying himself.
Enjoying the sunshine.
Out for a bit of a stroll, are we, Ed?
No, I'm about to go into the gym. You guys are talking about the weather, so I just want to bring some sunshine to the people.
There we go.
You know, I'm about to go to the gym now, so.
Yeah, work on those guns, mate.
No, it's good. What's to talk about today, Aussie? Obviously, we're going to have to go absolutely hellfire on the 115, and we may have a Rich Ranson coming, I think, soon, won't we?
I think we might. Rich has promised us one for a while, and I think...
well, not right now, because it's Rich's clients on the phone, but yeah.
That'll the wife.
Yeah. But before we do anyway, I'll quickly go through the comments to just see who's in the building this evening anyway. Mingy Wong's in. Good evening to yourself too, sir. Thank you very much. So seeing that about Kieran Maguire. He's I find him a bit hit and miss. I don't know if everybody has anything mixed reviews on him or anything like that like I do, but we'll wait and see what happens. But 16 opponents, Madrid or Bodo. I'll have to speak to Martin because he did talk about possibly doing a Champions League draw. So we might do that come tomorrow. I think it was 11 a.m. tomorrow. The Champions League draw was, wasn't it, guys? Well, I think so. Yeah, which means we will end up with Real Madrid, because we all know what happens with UEFA when it comes to City of Madrid. Ash is in the building. Good evening. I hope you're doing well, mate. Tone's in. Have a great show. Thank you very much, mate. Of course, 90 Minutes with Tone. Don't forget that is coming up, I believe, tomorrow around 2 p.m. UK time. So obviously good when we get Tone on every Friday fortnight to talk about all things City. So keep an eye on for that one, guys. This is in the building. Somto's in the building. Apparently Anderson's balling out right now for Forest in the Europa League or Conference League. DC's in the building. Hope you're well, love. Thank you. Dash. Yep. Thank you for posting that about Samaritans. At some point in the show, we will also post your link about the cancer charity as well too, which Martin showed us off camera. So we'll post that at some point anyway. Yeah. Oh, here we go. That's it there. So that's the link there if anybody wants to follow it. But of course, we'll post a flyer on the page here a bit later on. So yeah, guys, please dig deep.
I'll do that now because we're talking about it, so it's only fair. The QR code is there for everyone to scan. And as you were saying, Pat, it's going to a good cause. So
yeah, and we might put it up again at the end of the show as well too, mate. Yeah, happy days. Brilliant. Oh, good. Sometimes also said no hate, lads. No hatred, but McAtee is average. Well, he made the choice to go to Forest, so like the player, just that's his decision. So yeah. City can never win when it comes to this. Unfortunately, we defend ourselves. We get shut on. We want to turn against the club. Yeah, this is just how it is. Yeah, that's all right. All right. We'll get stuck into it, guys. Now, Rich, you said you just got to drop in and out, maybe just to do some score runs. But
yeah,
do we want to start straight up with obviously what's been major headlines this week? I didn't realize it was an international break. I didn't realize we were off for 2.5 weeks. So these news articles came a lot sooner than I expected. Oz, Rich, Ed. So yeah, who wants to go first? I know, Rich, you're absolutely hanging for a double R.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's a massive long conversation in some senses, because is there anything more to talk about than there has been for the last 3.5 years? Probably not. I mean, what is there to actually talk about today that's different to what we knew 3.5 years ago? This is the biggest case of two words you'll ever see: if and could. Every single article you will see on social media has if and could. If I had wings, I could fly. If Manchester United had won their first 27 games, they could be on for the first perfect season. If Slippy G hadn't slipped, Liverpool could have won the league. There are two words that can make absolutely everything. So if we have to read another story, if Man City are found guilty of 115 charges, they could be deducted 60 points. They could be deducted 40 points. They could be handed 10 million compensation and given 10 bonus points. They could be, given 10 points in 2020 and take the Scousers title. I mean, anything could happen if something else happens. And this, in every newspaper story, every social media story has if and could. And if you read any story and anything that says if and could, it means they're writing a story that means absolutely nothing, that has absolutely no substance and can't be sued. Because if you say if something happens, you're not alleging it will happen. You're just saying if it happens. And if you say could happen, you're not saying it will happen. You're saying it's one of infinite options that could happen. So the 60-point deduction was Kieran Maguire saying, if we got found guilty of absolutely everything, then proportionally, if you look at all those charges, then you think maybe we'd get 10 times the punishment of, an Everton or a Forest. So we could get 60 points if. It's just absolutely meaningless. If we get found innocent of all 115 and the FA uncover emails suggesting that Liverpool, United and Tottenham pushed this in an illegal manner, Liverpool, United and Arsenal could end up getting in severe trouble in the courts. I mean, anything could happen if something else happens. So it's time that as soon as anyone sees if they're intelligent, they completely ignore it. And if someone else says to you, if and could, you can make up any scenario you like. Like, you know, make up anything. If I had wings, I could fly. If I had my legs chopped off, then, you know, I couldn't walk. I mean, anything is true. So it's just nonsense. And, you know, I'm not sure it's worthy of too much conversation, because it's just people who know nothing about the subject taking it. And let's be quite honest, if this was happening to United or Liverpool, I probably wouldn't stop to find out, you know, whether it was true or not, because I'd want United or Liverpool to be guilty, and I'd probably be quite happy telling them that they were guilty. So I understand why most other fans are doing it. I don't understand why journalists, apart from the fact they genuinely think people are still interested and are going to click on it, why they'd, you know, why a serious journalist would, you know, if and could, because if and could is just so beneath anyone of intelligence, but they do. So
it just shows the level of how much the level of journalism's dropped in recent years, Rich.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's just
There's a big reason for that, Pat, which I'll get into when Richard's
clickety click. I mean, they're there to make money. They don't sell newspapers anymore. They sell clicks and they sell adverts. And the more adverts they sell, you know, the more they'll get employed to write an article again, because most of them are not employees. They're just writing. And if they get enough clicks, they'll be asked to write again. But it's, you know, it's just a name.
All right, Ozzy, just before you have your say, I just quickly had a membership, 26 months to Simo Sups. Big up, mate. Thank you very much for all your support, mate. Much appreciated. Yeah. Ozzy, what do you got to say?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Rich just ranted there. There's not much I can really add to that part. I think what you can definitely say is that, you know, when I speak to friends of mine who are fans of other clubs, you know, a lot this way is Leeds and Newcastle, where I am, and most of them, like, you can have the odd little debate here and there. You can have the odd, you know, oh, you're gonna be, you know, be thrown out the league, blah blah. But most of them, realistically, most people that I know, just don't care anymore. They're absolutely fed up with this. And I do think it's a disgrace that we actually haven't been given a decision by now. I think it's absolutely abhorrent that no one knows what the verdict is. You know, as City fans, all we can do, and this is what gets lost a lot, is that we've had no say in this. We've not, even if we're guilty, it's nothing to do with City fans. We haven't instigated this. We haven't, you know, allegedly kind of thing. We've had no control over this, and we don't have the control. You know, we don't own the club. You know, so even if we are guilty, it's not on the fans. In fact, the fans should be. I think I've had some friends turn around and go, I actually feel a bit sorry for you guys, because it's nearly every day, you know, that 115 is brought up, and it's just a bit like, God, you know, could you hammer City fans anymore with all this? You know, it's just become a disgrace, really. And the reason it's a disgrace, and the reason it's taking so much time, and I did watch some of the overlap with what happened with Kieran Maguire, and there was one point where, you know, it wasn't Gary Neville, it was Carragher, turned around to Luke from FC Lads and was like, well, it's City's fault. They're the ones that are dragging this out. It's like, well, actually, it's not. It's the Premier League, because the Premier League, rather than doing the sensible thing and throwing the book at us, as in actually throwing and going with the big charges, you know, I think I don't know the exact amount of the serious charges. I think it's like 3 or 4 or something like that of the big serious charges that they're alleging we've done. You know, Rich can answer better than I can on that, but they'd have just gone for those rather than the 150 where grass was too long or whatever. And we know it's not, but rather than going for 1-5, it's 130 or something, 135 realistically. If they'd just gone for the serious charges, we probably would have had a result by now. But it's because the Premier League wanted to make a statement. It's the Premier League that wanted to turn around and it was all the other clubs that and especially the cartel that wanted to basically turn around and go, City are guilty, and you've got to find them. You've got to punish them badly, because we don't want City. We don't want their success. We're fed up with it. We want it done. We want it over.
I'll take issue with one thing. I think they charged us with so many things because they didn't think they were going to find us guilty. If you're going to find someone guilty, you go for the where you know you've got evidence and you go for it. I think they got so many charges for two reasons. One, they were pushed into it to damage our reputation because
by certain
putting
clubs.
a massive number of charges sounds really bad, even if you found it not guilty on every single one. And it's important we always say not guilty rather than innocent, or in this case, it's probably even the balance of probabilities. But if we're found not guilty, then the 115 charges, just because of the number of them, will have made a point, will have damaged our reputation. And the other thing is that I think if they went for 115, it gave them the chance to do a fishing expedition and ask questions on absolutely everything, because the more things you charge with, the more likely you are to find some evidence and some charge that you'll be found guilty on. So I think they felt if they really knew we were guilty and they really thought we were guilty, they would have gone on the 5 things and they would have just nailed them, found us guilty and punished us hard. But because and let's be honest, they must know that a court has already found in our favour on these exact things.
An independent.
So
we're talking about the UEFA charge, aren't we?
A proper court, right? So in a sense, they're going to have to go against not only companies like Etihad, the UAE government, City, they're also going against CAS. So they're going to have even, you would think, even stronger evidence to find a guilty finding against City than they would normally, because they're going to have to, they're risking impugning the reputation of major world corporations. They're risking impugning the reputation of a state. They're risking impugning the reputation of a court. So they're going to have to be really clear. So I think the massive charges were, firstly, I'm not sure the Premier League ever really wanted to do them. I think they were pushed into them because the Premier League wouldn't want to go for something unless they knew they were going to win, because they must have known what an absolute damage to the reputation of the Premier League and everything it did. So they must know the risks. Yeah, they know the risks of this. I actually doubt Richard Masters wanted to do this, or any of the Premier League wants to do this in a million years. I think they were bullied into it, and I'll use the word bullied. It's interesting that 2 of the CEOs most involved in this have actually resigned. Could be possibly related to this. Who knows what's actually been tendered by City as evidence. They just went as wide as they could on a fishing expedition to cause damage to our reputation, because that's what the other clubs mainly want.
I think as well, though, because from what Kieran Maguire said, and a few other people have said it as well, is that yes, the big 6, or not the big 6 including us, but as in like the big, the Arsenals, the Spurs, and Man United, all really wanted this. And obviously the legal charges are all coming from those clubs. It's coming from all the other 19 clubs. Now, for United, for the Arsenals, for the Spurs, it's a bit of a drop in the ocean, the amount of expenses that's going on, the lawyers, the court case itself. But for clubs like Bournemouth and a few of the others that are further down, they're like,
I'll be fine.
Nice, mate. See you shortly.
We can't keep affording these expenses because the totals are just coming up, and I think it was even said that it's last year's revenue for the Premier League was down because of all the expenses that are having to go into this legal case. And opposition fans are starting to learn this and go, what on earth are we paying for? What's going on? Because this is going on for so long, it's unlikely, that City are actually going to be charging it, because the evidence that's there, from what I've heard is it's very circumstantial. There was the hacker who apparently got all these emails. Now,
Rui Pinto.
Yeah, I don't know in a legal court because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not legal minded enough to know. But I would have thought though that kind of evidence would be inadmissible in court because it's been illegally obtained. And you can't definitely prove that it was City's emails and stuff like that. So I don't know, but I'm just going on what I know roughly.
Yeah. And Aussie too, just with that Rio Pinto guy as well too. He was proven in court as well that he had tampered with evidence as well too.
Yeah,
with that hacked evidence as well too. So we don't know how we don't even know how true those documentations are, to be honest. So, or how much have actually been tampered with. But yeah, I know what you mean, and I agree with Rich, who he's just ducked out. He's just got to do a school run just with the weather and that. Yeah, I look at the fact that I think they've decided to throw as much shit at the wall as they can in the hope that something sticks. Yeah, and it's if you haven't seen understood that already, then just the fact that this has dragged out so long for what it has. And yes, I know every few months we get updates saying that there's going to be a further delay because this has changed, or because there's going to be new panel members or whatever in that judicial board, that independent panel, whatever it is. So they've got to go through all the paperwork again, make sure the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. So it does drag out a little bit too, but yeah, look, I don't know. I in my personal belief, I feel like the longer this drags out, the worse it looks for the Premier League.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because if we really were in trouble, you would have known by now. You would have known by now for the Premier League.
Yeah, and I think there would. The other thing that I've always come back to about this is that City haven't stopped. And Martin was going to bring up tonight, who was here, but we've just recently signed 3 new big deals with BYD, the Chinese electric car company, Resolute or
Revolut, one of the big fintech company. The reckon that it's going to be massive in a couple of years.
Yeah, and the bed company as well.
Silent Night.
That's it. So now, like deals like this, especially the Chinese company and the Resolute one, are massive, as you were just stating, Pat. Now, to me, these companies.
Well, they reckon in a year or two they're going to be bigger than Tesla.
I think they've already they are.
Okay.
That's just come out that they've just. I think recently news that they've just said that they are bigger than Tesla now. So for these type of big companies to show faith in City, and we forget, we don't forget as us as fans, but like the stadium extensions, all this is costing money. Now, if City really felt they were guilty, do you really think they'd be pumping in money and getting investments in like they have done? Because to me, and spending money on the field as well. I mean, the amount of money that's been spent in the last couple of transfer windows, do you really think City would be going business as usual? They would to an extent, but not to the level they are. I mean, they're going on like they're not. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to be dot points. We're not going to be thrown to the wolves, and we're going to be down in League 2 or whatever. To me, that sounds enough to me that the club don't feel they're guilty of anything. I think the worst that this is going to come out, the worst that we can be found guilty of, is not cooperating. But at the end of the day, for me, it's if they feel they've done nothing wrong, it is still down to the Premier League to prove their case. Do you know what I mean? It's down to the Premier League to prove that we are guilty. It's not for us so much, to plead our innocence. We didn't have to because we felt we did nothing wrong. Now we've gone to court, we've had our day in court, and we're still waiting for the outcome. But yeah, I just feel this has got really silly. And the reason I was going to say about like when Rich was talking about kind of the clickbait of the media, like the Telegram and the Sun and all these kind of outlets. Actually, I think it's more the opposition fan channels that more of like, because when you watch the overlap, obviously they have loads of different fan content creators on there, and it's always about clicks. It's always about the likes of Rory Jennings and McCullough and a few others. they play a bit of a character. They play and they play to the audience because it's basically, for me, it's like rage porn. It's punishment porn. They're just so, they've got to put this out there, because if they don't, they're not going to make the money, because this is what gets the clicks. This is what gets the views. Do you know what I mean? So talking about 115 and saying, oh, City are going to be docked 60 odd points and blah, blah. Well, actually, that was just Kieran Maguire, as Rich was stating earlier. Like, that's just an opinion. It's not a fact. People forget that even if we were found guilty of the serious charges, there's not all of a sudden we're going to be, we're not going to go into League Two or not going into the Championship after that judgment, because City have the right to what's the word I'm looking for, Pat? What's the word I'm looking for?
Oh, jeez. I'm no dictionary myself, mate.
Well, you basically they can come back and challenge is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, like an appeal. Yeah,
appeal. That's it.
Yeah,
that's the word I was looking for. They can appeal it, which again, the appeal could take God knows how long. So, and the Premier League can appeal on the decision as well. So that even if we're found, not guilty, the Premier League can still appeal against it. So we could be talking about another year or two or whatever, because we forget, the three guys that they've put into the panel to make the decision, these are all top barristers. They've got other work they're doing. And that's probably one of the other reasons it's been delayed, because at the end of the day, they've got other cases they need to look at. And that, from what I've heard, is that, I think it was said on the overlap, but I've heard it recently as well, is that they've had to go through over 500,000 pieces of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's huge. And if you're talking about 115 charges and they've got to deliberate on every single one, then of course it's going to take as long as it's taking. Yeah, I just think, Ed, are you there, mate?
It's always going to take longer than what people think it is. But just before we bring Ed in, I just quickly wanted to... Foggy, 32 months membership. Thank you so much, mate. Much appreciated. And then he's come in like he always does, one of our biggest contributors, with 10 gifted memberships. Plenty of W's in the chat. But yeah, if you've received a membership from Foggy, just obviously send your thanks his way. Much, much appreciated. Thank you, guys. All good. So go on, Ed.
Nah, I agree with everybody's saying. I think with all the news coming out about, because they always talk about how we spend this much and that much, but now since all the teams are spending, you don't hear about that no more, right? You got Liverpool spending all this money, you got Tottenham, Man United, Arsenal spending all this money. Now nobody wants to talk about money anymore, or net spend, right? which is funny to me. So now the only thing they can really talk about is 115 charges. And I'm just tired of journalists doing all this guesswork for views and clicks. I'm just tired of it, right? If you don't have nothing concrete to say, don't say it, because you're just trying to spin a narrative. And it's just until the news comes out, I just want to talk about football, right? And you just get tired of talking about this all the time. And to what Ozzy was saying, there's over 15,000 things of evidence I read. 15,000 things of evidence.
Well, you read it all.
It's over half. It's over 500,000 pieces of evidence.
It's crazy, right? It's come on now. And people are wondering why this is taking a long time. People have to read through all that and make decisions on every charge. And I know everybody wants to hear about it, but to come out and say, oh, if this happens, City will drop 60 points. What? Where did you get that from? Where did 60 points come from? Did somebody tell you that? Or now you're just trying to throw a number out there? And then you got YouTube channels trying to paint a narrative that, come on, mate.
Yeah. Well, look at it. Look at the shoe was on the other foot, Rich. No journalist is actually willing to actually go and say, well, have they thought about what if City were cleared of all this? About how much heads would roll. Richard Masters should be on the chopping block. Would they question the integrity of all the other? Would they question the integrity of all the other clubs in the Premier League as well?
Yeah, I mean,
would a microscope be put more on the American owners, possibly? You know, because we have speculated that there is a bit of what is it, xenophobia, maybe a little bit of racism as well to it as well. So nobody's bothered to look at that as well, which again shows just a lack of journalistic integrity basically around. So yeah, I just wish, you know, there was at least more than, because I think typical City, he said one or two things about, there was one journalist I think in the last couple of years has actually decided to do some articles about, oh well, what would happen if they were cleared of it. And nobody wants to go down that road because, again, it's all about identity politics, basically wanting to be the big one who gets all the clicks and gets all the traction and things like that. And, of course, you're going to do that when you post negative articles. And at the end of the day, we are just one club. And if you can appeal to a massive group of fan base, you know, over a certain thing, especially if it's something that your club isn't doing, then, of course, you're going to get the traction. Of course, you're going to get the you know, you're going to get the clicks and, you know, all the, you know, you're just going to be the big dog basically. So, yeah, it's just a shame. That's just the world we fucking live in, you know, but, yeah, look, it annoys me. It just, you know, for a fact that if something like this had happened, you know, in another generation, there would definitely be more articles there'd be as many articles trying to level out the negativity, the positive stories, at least there would be negative. So yeah, it just disappoints me. It's just a shit world we live in.
Yeah. And I think, you know, like you said, Pat, it is the world we live in. The society throughout the world right now is very much skewed on a certain way of thinking, a certain way of feeling. It's very much, as I said, like rage. It's very much that at the moment that people keep buying and keeps, you know, buying into this rage that the media is selling because it's what sells. It's the old expression, bad news is always better than good news. It sells better. And that is why people keep diving into 115, because it sells better. You know, that's what I said earlier about the likes of Mark Goldbridge going on about it, because that, you know, as soon as he does put something up on his social media, you know, he goes live on 115, you know, he gets millions of views. You know, and that's how he makes money, because that's the character. That's just the person that he is. And fair play to him, he's made money from it. And so is some of the other content creators that are, you know, that are going in on City. You know, because that's what they have to do. It's the rage, and regardless of 115, it's also just how they do things. We talk about AFTV and the way they go, and the way that a lot of Arsenal fans don't like AFTV, especially in recent history. You know, them really being quite raging, quite clickbaity. It's because that's what sells. You know, it's what produces and what you know ultimately makes them money. I mean, Pat, and I'll ask this to the rest, Ed and Rich. Has 115 completely damaged the club's reputation, even if we were found innocent? If we weren't found, you know, not guilty, would we ever recover from this?
Only in the court of public opinion has our reputation been tarnished. And of course, you know, there are going to be there's people out there who, come hell or high water, their opinion on the club has already been sealed, basically, regardless whether we're guilty or we're not guilty. So the fact that we keep getting dragged through the mud is always going to be something. You know, people have their opinions on what they think of the club even before this sort of thing happens. So you can't really avoid that in a way. And no matter what City do to try and clear their name in terms of court of public opinion, you're not going to sway everybody. So you just have to deal with that. But that all comes with the tribalism of football, of being a football fan, basically. So you can't really avoid that anyway. But going forward, I mean, you know, if you look at it, if the verdict was to come out tomorrow, I mean, we're using ifs again, but the verdict was to come out tomorrow and we were cleared, you know, maybe if it was just the non-compliance, well, then you know that a lot of those fan channels are going to basically put the magnifying glass on the non-compliance, basically, because that was all they really had to hold on to after UEFA and CAS as well. And, you know, BBC tried their best with that little smear documentary that came out a few months after, trying to, you know, basically creating something out of nothing, when we knew that everything had basically been cleared in terms of what UEFA was trying to pin us with, basically. But yeah, look, again, for me, it comes down to public opinion, basically. doesn't matter what happens, we're still going to be looked as cheaters by a lot of people, and content creators are going to do everything in their power just to, if it keeps getting them traction and clicks, then they'll keep creating narratives, brown envelopes, secret handshakes, things like that. You can't avoid that in the end. But look, whatever happens, I think at the end of the day, I think Lad said it perfectly on Overlap too. He just said we're bored of it, we're tired of it. We want to hear the verdict more than any other rival fan does. We just want to get out of the way.
Rich or Ed?
He might be in the car, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I do. Go on.
No,
go on, Ed.
I had to put it. You guys are gonna have to give me a minute to put the equipment down on mute. But no, I agree with you guys. Right? It's gonna be about why are they trying to hide stuff that they're not cooperating, and it's like this is $1 billion business. You just don't hand over all your files and databases and say, hey, go through it, right?
Yeah. If someone kicks your door down with a warrant and that, you're not just going to say, "Oh, yes, I'll happily oblige."
Yeah, you can put it right.
Without a warrant, yes. I don't know if I said with. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with you, man. Everybody already is condemning us and saying we should be out of the league, but we're crying when people thought we were going to the Super League, right? And you just can't win on either side, right? And it's just ridiculous how this has been painted against us. And hopefully when all this come out, like we all know, we're going to be on the stream for a very long time with some bottles in our hands, some cigars, and hopefully it ends up that way.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, Rich.
Yeah. No, so I mean, my view is that 99.9% of fans talking about this, and I include a lot of the journalists, and I include Mark Goldbridge and others, they really don't understand what the charges are. They haven't looked at them. They don't understand them. And even if they've read them, they don't actually understand the law and what's happening. Now, one massive point, and if City were guilty, this would just show the absolute stupidity of it, is all our sponsorship deals have to be fair value tested for UEFA. So all our sponsorship deals, the 80 million deal, had to be evaluated by an organisation, like a Big Four organisation, who had to evaluate that it was fair value. And so we couldn't go and have a 200 million a year sponsorship. It had to be tested on fair value. They were tested on fair value. So in theory, no sporting advantage can have been gained by the over sponsorship. So if we have, if the allegations were true and we had paid, our owners had paid money to actually had to pay the sponsorship, it was actually nothing to do with City, because this was not an issue for City. It had been fair value tested. No sporting advantage had been gained. And we had actually pinned the sponsorship values at what was the deemed correct value. So the main charge that everyone's saying that we pumped in tens of millions of unfair sponsorship is factually not true, because that's been tested by UEFA. Our sponsorships were appropriate. Now, if something has been done like alleged, it's been done for the purposes of Etihad not wanting to spend money or something, not for the purposes of City. So the charges, if we were found guilty of them and there was evidence, would be completely mind-numbingly stupid on City's part, because we have not gained any FFP advantage, and that has to be tested. That was tested before the charges. We've had our sponsorship values since the first UEFA FFP case we settled in 2014, I think it was. We have had to have all our sponsorship values backdated till 2011 at that value. So there's just complete nonsense. So the idea we've gained some massive sporting advantage is wrong. The idea that we've gained 10 times the advantage Nottingham Forest or Everton is wrong. And they don't know that because they don't understand the subject they're talking about and they haven't read it. So you get all this absolute nonsense. Some of the other charges are around 500,000, 8 charges of 500,000 in 3 years. But because of future years reporting, it's made as 8 charges. 500,000, that is about 1% of what, Forest or Everton were accused of overspending. Again, why would that be 10 times the penalty of those clubs when it's an offence that's at 1%? That wouldn't even be a point. It didn't even change the FFP cal. So there's just really ignorant commentary on it. And other fans have made up their mind, but, that's fair enough. If, I said it up front, if United or Liverpool were getting charged, I'd make up my mind. I think United, Liverpool and Arsenal are guilty of severe cartel behaviour working together to push these charges against City. My mind's made up about that, evidence or not. And, we're going to find ways to hate them. But all these fans who say all this stuff about City, they're all still supporting City to win the league over Arsenal. So whatever they think City have done, they still think Arsenal's fans and Arsenal as a club are far more annoying and hateful than City are, despite the fact we're the biggest cheats in history. So that says it all about how serious a lot of these fans are in what they're talking. They're just having a go. They're just, taking advantage. But when it comes to it, oh yeah, we'll support City over Arsenal. Because Arsenal were the original cheats, and that's embedded in their culture back to the 1930s. And, it's still with them a century later.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things that came up on the overlap was all the FFP. I know it's now something else, so I can never remember that abbreviation. But one of the things was brought up was why was it introduced, and it was introduced basically because of Roman Abramovich taking over Chelsea, and then when City were taken over by Champion's, the Arsenals, the United, the Liverpools, they saw what that level of money was going to do. It was going to knock those clubs out of the Champions League places, which is why obviously where you earn most of your revenue. You're getting into those big competitions, and they just couldn't stand that. And that was the big reason why FFP was brought in. And you look at how Newcastle are having to try and weave their way through this now, because the rules have got even worse since the time it was brought in when we were getting to 2012s and win the league then. Now Newcastle can't spend that kind of money. They can't do what we were trying to do, and trying to basically build ourselves up to be able to change for the league. And I've had mates turn around to me and go, well, realistically, how were you supposed to able to get to those type of heights without pumping in a lot of money? That's what you have to do. And no club in history that has reached the likes of win the Premier League, win the Champions League, have not spent money. Liverpool fans can turn around and go, well, all of our players are homegrown, and that's how we've done it. And United have also got that as well. But realistically, the one exception is Leicester. But they still have to spend some money. But I just think it's ridiculous. Yeah. I'm not sure what else there is much to say on this, really, because we've had this discussion so many times on this channel, and we've put it out there as in ultimately, if we're guilty, then we'll face the charges, we'll face the punishment. That's just what'll have to happen. We have no control over this at all. I've turned around and said, and I think Martin said it, I think Pat and Richard have both said it, that if it was to come down to it, if we're found guilty of serious charges, I think we want the club sold and the ownership moved on, got rid of, and new ownership to come in, because how could you trust those people at the top? Especially as that we found of criminal charges. Do you know what I mean? Now, a lot of us have said that, but we don't know ultimately. We have no idea, really. We can only go on what the club have told us. And the club have told us that they're not guilty. They'll prove it in court. They'll have their day in court. And after all of this, Khaldoon has promised to speak to the City fans and, explain everything. And we look forward to that. And then I think, as we've all stated, in the realms of public opinion, I think some people are, certain opposition fans, certain media are not going to accept that we're not guilty. There is always going to be that, they're guilty of something. whether it's non-cooperation or there's been, as you said, Pat, a brown paper envelope or whatever, because that's just what they want to do. That's just what they're going to keep on pushing, is because they've got nothing else, because the jealousy, and it is pure jealousy of what City have done.
And Blue Heart says something here too. He says entitled clubs think they own the success in the game, and I say that's another thing I think what Manchester City has done. Manchester City they're not just jealous from our success. We've exposed them for this, for their self-entitledness.
And I think, I look at it, I think we're the best run club in the league, if not in Europe. Do you know what I mean? Like on and off the field, we're so successful, and people wonder why we're able to generate the revenue we do. Is because we're bringing in sponsorship deals left, right, and centre, and they're big ones. I guarantee you, the likes of Man United, Chelsea's, and Liverpool would have loved to have signed that deal with BDYD, whatever, the Chinese electric company.
BYD. BYD.
They would have loved to have signed. Rich, I mean, I don't know the figures for that. I don't know if you know, but that's going to be a massive deal.
Yeah, well, anyway, I think there are electrical vehicle partner, not the same major ones. So it'll be.
Oh, they're also the fleet provider as well.
Yeah, no, I think, but I think they were a company who could be doing that deal with any club in the world, and they've chosen City. And I think, I was cracking up the other day because I saw, Revolut Finance has done a deal with us, and they're one of the biggest kind of about to be, IPO fintechs in the world. Huge company, tens and tens of billions. And, there was United fans coming out trying to say, because Mudabala's invested about 5% of their shares, this was another example of City using, state-owned companies. But, we've got a UAE company that owns a few percent of shares in the company. I'd imagine UAE companies own a couple of percent of, and sovereign wealth funds own a couple of percent of most of the big companies in the world, especially in, AI, fintech, and etc. So, there's a lot of desperation, but that's what football's about. Football's tribal, and it's about, we say it's banter, but it goes beyond banter. It's about putting down other clubs. And so if you've got something you can use against City, you're going to use it. And I think we have to accept that. And let's be quite honest, 99% of City fans would be doing exactly the same thing if this was about United or it was about Liverpool. We shouldn't pretend we'd be any different. We'd be going in just.
Well, I mean, we are, Rich, because there's only one club out of the two. There's only one club in Greater Manchester that actually has an FFP charge. That was actually they're found guilty of, and that's United. And then that was buried as quick as a rabid dog.
Yeah, but I just think for now, and it will change. We've just got a media that's very, very biased towards a couple of clubs, and that'll change with time. We are coming to a point where, United have been rubbish for nearly a generation. There's not many kids in the country left at school who can actually remember United winning the league. Most people leaving. Yeah, well, no, there's no one. There's barely. There won't be anyone left at university, or college remembering Arsenal winning something. So you've got a whole generation of kids who've basically grown up with Liverpool and Arsenal. Not Liverpool, I should be fair. And Arsenal and United being mainly mediocre. Arsenal have challenged a couple of years now. They might remember when they were 3, United were good, but they've grown up with that. Liverpool have been good that generation. So that generation will have grown up with Liverpool being the main contenders to City. But, I think, what was it we've won now? 8 of the last 15 years?
I believe
that's what it is.
That.
Yeah, that's what
Which
it is.
Which is a huge dominance.
But I go back to the fact that if this was United, I'd be going in at all points. And even if they were found not guilty, I'd be like, saying, it's never going to go away. I mean, there's allegations of, United's former owner selling cheap meat to Mancunian schools that made kids sick. You know, I don't know whether that was ever tried in court or anything, but you know, to a lot of generation of Mancunians, United always will be the team of the meat poisoners. So, you know, that's the way it is. You know, as some United fan,
Rich,
you know.
Rich, what about Blue Heart's comment here about saying, yeah, if all the attention is focused on City, then the other teams no one's going to look at their finances. Do you think it's a position of like City should also take a stance of like, hang on a sec, if you're going to cook our books, then by right, we should be cooking everybody else's books?
Rich says
why would City honestly want to do that? You know, City want the conversation on football. They don't want the conversation on books. It's why all this stuff about City's going to spend 10 years taking journalists through courts after this. I don't think they are. I think City just want this gone. They want the conversation on Pep Guardiola, you know, Erling Haaland, Champions League. You know, they want the conversation on that. So I don't think City want to go and look at other books. I don't think they want any more scrutiny on them books. I think City, frankly, would like it to be, you know, you can spend and do what you want. You don't have to waste any time on this. And City focus on just being the best football club because that's what they're interested in. The trouble is we're up against clubs who just want to make money because they're American businesses who want profit. And so their owners are like, how do we get a club that's going to give us 25 million, 30 million after tax profit every year, guaranteed, you know, every year. And that's what they want. It's not what City want. It's not what Villa want. It's not what Newcastle want. You know, possibly not what Chelsea want. But it is what the owners of the American sports businesses want.
Yeah, I mean, there was a comment, I think Blue Heart had said it earlier, like, you know, Chelsea, the news only came out a couple of hours ago, if that Chelsea had record losses. What was it, over 300 million, Pat?
340 odd million, something like that.
Yeah. And then there was the whole thing about them selling the women's team and then selling those hotels and then selling them back to themselves. I mean, all of that just sounded dodgy. Now, I know apparently it was all legal and above board, but like, I think just the amount of loopholes that I think other clubs have exploited over the years, and as someone commented as well with Liverpool, you know, actually hacking City's database for scouting networks. I mean, you know, clubs, you know, they throw a lot of mud around, and you know, but they really need to pay attention to what they've done. You know,
to be honest,
if we had hacked Liverpool, that would have been the news would have just never stopped about that.
Yeah, I don't think it was a hack. I think it was quite simply someone left, and City didn't have the intelligence to stop their access to the systems and change their password. Because my understanding, Ozzy, is they just went into the systems using their password, and basically, you know, that was a massive. You know, I mean, it was something against their contract and fraudulent on, you know, their part, something they shouldn't have done. You know, and obviously a settlement was made. But my understanding was it was just, they'd just gone back in using their password, and City hadn't bothered to close off access to people leaving.
But as you said, true, like that person shouldn't have done that because it's against their contract. You know,
They're breaking.
And still, Liverpool benefited from that. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a settlement. Do you know what I mean? So
you'd assume they must have taken some pretty sensitive information and used it to agree to settle.
Exactly. So, you know, for me, this all just comes down to we still ultimately don't know anything new. It again, as we stated, it's all if, buts, and maybes right now. You know, we are still waiting.
And it will be until the final verdict.
Yeah. You just remember, as I said at the beginning, all you need for any story you do on football or anything you want to say, if and could. If A happens, then B could happen. And, you know, you can say nearly anything with those two words, and it can be true and it can be legally defensible and, you know, appropriate. So I kind of think, you know, that's just the way it is. And if you see a story that starts off, if it's usually someone says, if A happens to City, then B could happen. And if you read that, you know it's an absolutely nothing story. It's just someone speculating on a certain event happening, what could be the outcome of that. And it just means absolutely nothing. You know, you can literally come up with any scenario in football, add those two words, and you're not doing anything wrong. You know, if City win, you know, it'd be just as true to say, if City win on all charges, Richard Masters, you know, may have to, you know, may resign. If it's true on all charges, then, you know, the CEO of certain clubs may resign. You know, if it's true that, you know, emails come out suggesting that the Premier League was forced into it by other clubs, then there might be action taken. Then those clubs could be facing sanctions themselves. All of these are true. So, you know, it's just meaningless. If City win 15-0 on Saturday, that, you know, we could get the greatest Premier League result of all time. You know.
Yeah, if buts and maybes. I've just figured out why Rich is off camera, Pat. It sounds like he's on milk rounds.
No, I heard the clinking of bottles. He's just gone to pick up his daily Vimto.
Ah, of course, yes, Vimto, Rich.
Yeah, and it was several bottles clinking together. So yeah, he does consume a lot.
Did you guys see though the story that I know it was talking about how United or have put aside like 40 million if the verdict does come in our favor, suggesting that each club will have to pay 40 million.
Yeah, they'd have to pay legal costs of City and the legal costs of the Premier League, and yeah, it would be a big payday, wouldn't it? Really. But I think, as Rich said, like, I don't think there'll be any retribution from City. I think, you know, it'll just be that's the verdict. Let's get over it. Let's just get back to the football.
Yeah, we don't want to. Ozzy, we don't want to shit where we eat, because, you know, ththese clubs are going to have to come back to buy players from. So we don't necessarily want to drag them through the mud in return either. I mean, those of a vengeful heart would probably want to think that way, but yeah, at the end of the day, we're going to have to do business with these clubs. So we can't really be too, you know, vengeful about it. Basically, we just got to clear a name and just carry on.
Yeah. Again, as much as we'd all love that, we're not in that cartel. Like, you know, we can't just take on the rest of the Premier League, the other 19 clubs. You know, we just, like, it's not going to work out well for us, even if we were to be given a load of money, you know, and it'd be a bit of taste really in our mouths afterwards, because we still have to work with them. We still have to do business. So exactly. Yeah, it's best to move on. Which you think is what we're going to do, unless anyone else has got anything they want to say about what?
The only thing on Ed's comment on United is that if we are found guilty, then United's CEO is almost certainly the first person who's going to have to resign. So it's a quite major consequences for United, given their CEO and the people he's brought in, you know, are right at the heart of this. So it is a big deal for them in other ways too.
Bit of shame though, Rich, wouldn't it, really, after all the good work they've been doing on behalf of City, you know, kicking United in their place. Just saying, I don't know why you'd hire ex-City, you know, board members.
He's been great for us.
You know, all the links
they've been doing a brilliant job.
Getting off.
There you go. House Captain said there's a 5p return on each of those Vimto bottles, which is accounting for nothing.
Right, so shall we move on to the next subject? Obviously, the last of the not round, but the last of the what's that called again, Pat?
The playoff knockouts.
Yeah,
the Champions League's out of the way. Yeah, just finished yesterday. So what is it? City are drawn against possibly either Real Madrid or but a glimpse. Draw would be made. Just a little over 12 hours from now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we should just get down to nitty gritty. We're looking forward to playing Real Madrid again.
Wow.
Does anybody in their
we
right
play 'em
mind
every
think
year.
that we will
I
get?
think we're going to
Bodo
get
Glimt?
Bodo. I'm putting it out there. We're getting Bodo.
Oh, he speaks.
He does. He's just finished.
I think we're getting. I think we're getting Bodo as well. I think we're playing Real Madrid in the final.
I'm not sure how you work that one, Rich, but all right.
No, hang on, wait. If we were to make it to the final, would we encounter Real Madrid during the quarters or semis at any point?
No, they'll be on the
because
opposite
UEFA
side,
would
Pat.
make more money off us playing another 2 times, not once.
No, they'll be on the opposite side of the.
They'd fall.
the
Okay, they'd
bracket.
fall into opposite. So, okay,
Yeah, they'll go because they'll go on the side with Sporting. So we would have to play. The way it is, how it would go, we will have to play like a Bayern or Arsenal next round if we make it past, right? Depending on which side they get on, and then to get to the final, I think
because Buzz from through Black and White Eyes did say that if both our teams make it to the semi-final, there's a good chance we'll play each other. Now they're technically on the opposite side of the draw to us right now. So it must be when the semi-finals come around, it does a bit of a crossover.
Yeah, so this depends on which side we're on. So, like, we could play the Barcelona or the Chelseas of the world, right? Depending on which side we're on.
Pat, it's going to be Bodo, then I don't know. It'll be Bodo, Arsenal, Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid. There you go. That's our draw.
That's it. That's it settled then.
Wow. Thanks, Rich. Right, everyone.
That's what it's going to be. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Bodo, Arsenal, PSG, Real.
Now, but just looking at the rest of the draw too, because I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, because I said this in the group chat, didn't I? Like, I was really impressed with the way Atalanta played against Dortmund yesterday, and there is a chance that Arsenal may face them in the draw. I can't remember who the other team is that they could possibly face. But
do you want to also tell what also you said in the group chat about Atlanta?
Oh, I thought Gasparini was still there. Yeah. Never mind. Anyway, carry on. Yeah, some things are best left unsaid. Thank you, Oz. Yeah, look, I don't know. I think just looking at it, I wouldn't rule out maybe a team like Atalanta if they were to draw against Arsenal. So, just got to be careful. And we all know just because these teams have to go through, PSG proved it last season. Just like you may be a bit shaky in the league stage, but if you can get there, all you got to worry about what's in front of you. So we'll wait and see.
I think the big thing with the Champions League, as has always been really said, is you don't have to be the best team to win the competition. I mean, the amount of times that, especially in our pomp, 3 years ago when we were at our highest when we won the treble, we were at our best, but realistically, like most teams are. I mean, as you just said, Paris Saint-Germain weren't the best team. They didn't get to be the best team until.
But they became the best team when it mattered, and that was the second half of the season.
Yeah,
became an absolute juggernaut.
You don't have to be the best team, and we know that most finals as well are pretty dull affairs. I mean, I don't think I've rewatched the game against Inter Milan since we won Champions League final. You know what I mean? Because it's not a memorable match that I feel like I need to go and watch again. Because the goal itself I've rewatched a couple of times from Rodri, but I haven't rewatched that game because it's just like it wasn't not particularly a great game. The finals rarely ever are. It's the games leading up to that. It's the
But Pat, it's Leverkusen.
Real Madrid.
My bad.
Leverkusen. Okay.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm kind of very skeptical with you, Pat. It just feels it's going to be like Real Madrid again because UEFA just seems to somehow, I don't know how, but they always seem to manage to get us and Real Madrid to play together.
Yeah, let's just say over the last few years, I think UEFA has definitely milked that anorexic cow. Let's just call it that for every drop that it has. And I've even had friends over here, fans of like rival clubs or other clubs in Europe, and they just say They just say, can't you wait for find another matchup to exploit? You know, another two teams to exploit. Like, it's just every single year. It's such a narrative now.
Yeah.
Why aren't we when we're doing preseason predictions and that in August? Why aren't we putting down? We should just put one of our categories. How many times will we play Real Madrid this season? Because that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
We played Newcastle 5 times in one season. There's a possibility we could play Arsenal 4 or 5 times in one season. Now you're talking about the possibility of playing Madrid 3 times in one season. Like,
yeah, I just don't think it will happen. Just because even Real Madrid players after the game came out and said, "Oh, we already know we're facing Man City."
Yeah. Courtois said that. Yeah, he was absolutely convinced that.
So I don't think UEFA want to paint that picture of teams you.
I don't think UEFA care. In all honesty, Ed, to them it's just about making more money. They don't care if they think like it's rigged that we make these fixtures up. You know, forget about the whole taking the balls out and that pretty summary that goes on for well over an hour or two. You know, it really and truly, like, to me, there was a couple of years ago, I think it was, where they did it, and actually one of the balls came out and it come out wrong, and obviously they had to kind of redraw.
Oh, was that draw that I think Arshavin was the special guest, and apparently it was completely ballsed up. I think they drew like the wrong team in the wrong pot or something like that. Or
yeah. It
looked
so obvious that they'd messed up and they'd been found out. So I honestly, Ed, I don't think they care. I think it's just it fits their narrative, it fits the headlines. You know, City and Real Madrid go up against it again. You know, it writes itself.
I think they want the final though. I think we're getting Bodo. I think City Real Madrid the final.
The thing is, though, Rich, I mean, I watched the game, and I said it in our group chat. I watched the game, and I didn't think Real Madrid were very good at all. They were lucky. I thought it's Sporting Lisbon, wasn't it? They played on the night. I thought both teams were just equally poor. I think Sporting were good for the first half, but the second half they completely dropped off, and Real Madrid were just lucky to get the goals they did. You know.
Yeah. Was it 4 years ago? Real Madrid got battered by City in both legs. They got battered by PSG in both legs. They got outplayed by Chelsea in both legs. They got 5 goals in injury time in those 6 knockout ties and went through from being out with at the end of normal time in every single tie. So never ever count out Real Madrid. That's why you don't want to play Real Madrid, honestly, because no team is more likely to win the Champions League when playing badly. They have got players who are capable of absolutely magic, ridiculous moments, and we could outplay them like we did in 2022 when we outplayed them for every minute of both legs, bar about 5 minutes in the second leg. We should have beaten them by 8 or 9 goals, and yet we go out with 2 goals in the last 4 minutes. You know, because we got tired, had to make some subs, and somehow, you know, Mahrez and Grealish and, you know, other players missed chances and they went through. So, you know, our record against them, 1-5, drawn 5, lost 5. We go up against them, it's a toss of a coin. And I think if we go up against Bodo Glimt, we've got an 80-90% chance of winning. So I'm taking Bodo, and I actually think Bodo.
The thing is, though, Rich, is that my argument slightly against the Madrid is that they're not the Madrid of when we played them, we beat them the 4-0s and everything, and over both legs. You know, this Real Madrid side, you know, they've got a handful of decent players. You know, I think of Courtois, to me, he is probably the best goalkeeper on the planet at the moment. You know, don't get me wrong, Donnarumma is amazing, but some of the saves, I mean, he's kept them in games so many times. I mean, the last time they won it against Liverpool, if I remember rightly, he was man of the match because he kept them in it. You know, Mbappe, yes, quality's there, definitely. But he's had to deal with recent injuries. Vinny Jr., again, he's a, you know, excellent striker of the ball and his skills are phenomenal. But, you know, there are times where I get very frustrated with him watching him because I just think, stop rolling around, stop faking injuries. Just get on with it. Show your skills. Jude Bellingham for me, I just don't think he's that good. I think there's just way too much hype about him. Valverde.
Quick question, Ozzy: is Jude Bellingham proof to you that while I think he is a decent player, he just doesn't have that quality that makes you think Real Madrid fans must really be missing Toni Kroos and Modric now?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
those two players in their prime are completely outdwarf. Bellingham. I think Bellingham. I don't. Yes, he's a skillful player, but I just think he's overhyped. The times where he's gone up against us, and the amount of times that he's on the floor, arms up in the air and complaining about some silly little foul, or he's completely bought into that kind of mentality, and he's lost what he may have had for me. Before he went there, that yes, he's a very skillful player, very good, but he has just bought into that. I've got such a big head mentality now. That dressing room, we've seen what happened to Alonso, and that's why I say, I think there literally is only a handful of players in that dressing room that are top quality, and you look at the amount of money Real Madrid have spent, and for me, they're not the team of when they're the Galacticos of Benzema, Ronaldo, and others. Even when Carvajal was at his best, he's coming to the end of his career now. I don't see, and Rich is right by saying you still can't underestimate them because they do somehow find a way. But I still feel that you've just basically got to beat that team, and you can. We've proven it before, and we can do it again. We've done it this season. We've gone to their ground and we've beaten them. And the advantage is, even if we do play them, they've got to come to us in the second leg. So we'll have that advantage, which they will not like. So, yeah. Don't get me wrong, though. I would love to kind of have a rematch with Bodo.
Me
too, because I think we'll right our wrongs from when we played them the other month. But yeah, I think it helps playing them away first is definitely more favourable than playing them second at home.
Yeah,
away.
Definitely.
And that's fine. But you just have to remember, at the end of the day, Mbappe is capable of absolute magic. Vinicius is, Rodrigo is, Bellamy's capable of big moments. Valverde, they have a team who, if they're on their day, and they get lucky, and the other team misses chances, who can score against anyone, and they do have, like it or not, a mentality throughout that club that they're going to win the Champions League every year. And time again, Real Madrid beat better sides than them in the Champions League. Even this current side, they beat better sides than them. They play games where the other team plays much, much better, but they get through. So, let's go Bodo. We can beat anyone. I mean, that's the fact. In the last 16 of the Champions League, I would say that any team in that can beat any other team in that. Bodo could beat Arsenal. Arsenal might be 90% favourites, but Bodo could beat Arsenal. If Arsenal play like they did against Wolves, Bodo could beat them. So the 16th favourite could beat the first favourite. City, a lot of games, City against Bayern, City against PSG, City against Real, they're toss of a coin. They're 50-50 games. So, Newcastle could beat Real Madrid. It's just, that's the nature of it. There is no, I don't think there's any super teams who are miles better than anyone else at the moment. I don't think City are as good as they were, Real Madrid are as good as they were. I think Arsenal are overhyped. I think Bayern are untested. So anyone could beat anyone.
Yeah, potentially. Go on, Ed, what were you going to say, mate?
No, I was going to just say kind of what Rich was saying. Like, if anybody on the panel had to pick between the two, I think we all would pick Bodo, right? Like, if we had to pick between the two, I think we would pick Bodo just because I kind of want to right that wrong. All the shit people said about us on YouTube and shit after that game. I want to go in there and show what a full Man City team would look like against them. So that's my thing with that. But if we do have to play Real Madrid, I'm not scared of Real Madrid. So
Yeah,
We'll see.
I totally agree with you, Ed. The thing is for me is that I feel that if this wasn't the fourth, fifth time we played Real Madrid in a row, I would be quite happy to play Real Madrid because it's a big game. At the end of the day, as we were shown when we actually won the Champions League, you have to beat the big teams. You have to come across them eventually. You know, and we did that with the Bayern Munichs, the PSGs, and the Real Madrids. You know, so Rich is right. You know, it's a 50-50 game at times, but you've still got to go out there and beat that team of the two legs and be that better team to ultimately get to the final and then win the final. So
yeah.
And
I think I feel slightly vindicated on Bodo as well, because I got ridiculed for saying I thought Bodo was going to happen as it did, and that Bodo weren't that bad. And I think Atletico Madrid and Inter Milan have actually shown that Bodo are a far better coached team and a far more effective team than I think people thought when we went there and lost, and made it out like we'd lost to a non-league. We'd lost to Macclesfield.
I think a lot of people are going to be looking at Norway during this World Cup now too, because of the performance they put on so far in the Champions League.
They should honestly. With Norway's, just with Haaland.
Rich, you're a little bit laggy, mate. I don't know if you realised.
Yeah, I think Norway for the semi-final, they've got a shot of going quarters or semis.
Yeah, Rich, you're really laggy, mate. I don't know if you've noticed it yourself.
Yeah.
Might want to reset. I know you're back on your phone. One of the things I was going to say that I think the Bodo manager, I think at the end of this season, I think he's going to get quite a few offers. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a few offers from Premier League clubs, to be honest, with how well he's done. And maybe even some of their players get tapped up, because they have shown quality to get through to the next round. No one can take that away from them. They can't take away the beating us, as Rich stated, whoever you want to call it. But I mean, the question I have for you, Pat and Ed, and I'm sure Rich will rejoin us so he can answer when he comes back. But I mean, I was listening to or watching ESPN, and there was Craig Burley, and he was saying that even if we were to go up against the likes of Bodo, like he feels that City's full-backs and our defence just isn't good enough, and he could see Bodo getting the result against us. Me personally, the way I look at that, I think what team has he been watching? Because I think realistically, we've got probably the best, if not the second best defence in the league, at least in the Premier League. You could argue and say, Arsenal may have the better defence, but from what I've witnessed from Nunes and from O'Reilly as our fullbacks, they've been phenomenal. Aït-Nouri, I think, has put in some great performances as well. And then the recency of having Mark Gay come through the door and him playing with Diaz and Kuznetsov, I think it's been a great. That defence has never looked more solid. So, do you guys still worry about our defence going into the next stage of the Champions League?
Let me just respond to this quick, guys, before I do this another set. I had this conversation with Martin when we were doing a different thing, but I just think that people aren't accustomed to the new way we play. So, like, a lot of people are judging how we're playing now compared to the past, and they're still thinking like something's still wrong with us when we're just more solidified defensively that we maybe have been before, right? Usually we're dominating possession, but now we're sitting back, we're hitting on the counter. We just have a different way of playing with the team we have now, and I think people are still don't understand that fully, so they're trying to compare it to us what we did in the past. So they're like, well, it still looks shaky in the back, but we've kept a lot of clean sheets lately. It just doesn't make any sense why people are thinking that way. And even in our own fan base, a lot of people are questioning the way we're playing right now too. So,
yeah, Rich.
Yeah, I mean,
drop, mate. So,
yeah, in about 10 minutes. My view is, I think our fullbacks are a little untested in really top games. I've always taken the view I like 3 out-and-out defenders. So if we were playing Arsenal in the Champions League, quarter-final, I would feel more comfortable with a Husanov at right back, or if he was fit, Gvardiol at left back, and Nunes, or Husanov and an O'Reilly or an Aït-Nouri, because I just think having three, our best season, our treble winning season, we actually had four centre backs playing most of that season, or sitting in the second half of that season. Or Kyle Walker, I guess, wasn't a centre back, but he's an out and out defender. So I would like to see Husanov get a few games more at right back, so that it becomes an option. I would like, I think when Gvardiol's back fit, and if Ake's completely fit, an option at left back. Because to me, when we push up on one wing, it means you can have a proper defence of three world-class quality centre backs. So I don't agree with the Burley comments. I heard that was being talked about on a podcast I heard the other day. But he hasn't really paid attention. But if we're up against, the best, up against Bayern, informally say, we're up against those best teams at their best, I'm not sure I really want only two proper defenders in our back four. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we had Husanov, Diaz, Aït-Nouri and Gay, or
But Rich, you don't think that we will have to make a change to our midfield because we have a more industrious midfield? So like our fullbacks give us more creativity.
They do, but ultimately, when you get to those games, you're going to win. You're going to win more times with a good defense and a good attack. In the depths of the Champions League, I think, PSG probably an exception, but often teams do their, go far in the Champions League. You can be really solid. So I just think I'd want to be a bit more defensively sound, and I hear a lot of conversations which is it has to be Diaz or Husanov, and I think if we don't play one of those two, we lose something. I think Husanov's speed and his ability to defend the high line and really break down attacks is immense. But I think Diaz's experience and his organisation and his intelligence as a defender is badly missed if we don't play him. So I do think when it comes down to it, probably if everyone was fit, it might be Gvardiol playing as a left back and Nunes playing. But at the moment, to me, it might be Husanov getting some games at right back, just to keep us solid. Because I think it's interesting because everyone's everyone's seeing some of City's performances this season and thinking they will happen again. But I think we've looked a bit more solid the last two games when we've been up at half time and then we've just kept a clean sheet second half. I don't think the second halves have been as bad. I think that's a sign of improving. And I think our bench has improved absolutely massively in the last 6 weeks. We were struggling in early January to have, we were picking 17-year-olds for the bench. You looked at the bench last weekend, it was all experienced first teamers. And I think we still have Ake and Kovacic and Doku and, Gvardiol not even on the bench. So we're going to have a lot more to bring on. Having Savinho and Doku back fit gives us that option to run the ball out of defence and to take pressure off that we haven't had the last month or two. That helps. So I think there's a lot of good stuff coming in our favour. I said we'd win the quad. That changed now, can I?
Not really. No. You have to stick to that, mate, and eat it at the end of the season. Pat, what about you, mate? What are you thinking?
Oh, just general running. Look, I probably agree with Rich in a way. I think we've certainly righted a lot of wrongs on what we had last season. I certainly think that a lot of the PTS, a lot of the things that we're doing this first half of the season that created the PTSD from the previous season is mostly gone now. I think it's worth drawing parallels probably to the treble season as well, where if we start doing things right and start playing well-disciplined football at a time when it truly matters in the season, then I think we may start seeing the best of what City have to offer this season and finally see the final end product, the final 11, that Pep will want to go through to the end of the season. So whatever he goes, it's cliche now, but whatever he goes with, I trust his logic. He's proven enough over the 10 years that he's been here. But look, if I did have a little bit of concerns, it might be just a little bit with the fullback position, like Rich said. I think while we are moving away from control football a little bit, I certainly don't think it hurts having a four centre half back four, basically similar to like what we did in the treble season. I just think it might be up to players like your Kujanovs, like your Gahey's to step up. And Gahey's probably maybe an exception because he has won a trophy basically, but so he knows how to do it. But to go in the knockout stages of the Champions League is a huge step up. And, if they're going to learn, they've got to learn while they're young, I suppose, while they're young and especially in Kuzanov's situation while he's still a young raw talent. So if they don't learn how to or don't get exposed to it, then when will they? So whatever they choose to go with, I'll trust Pep's logic because he's had more success than he's had failures, that's for sure. So whatever happens, I'm looking forward to this run in for the rest of the season because I think we're setting ourselves up in a good way for a good run.
Yeah. So I think you both touched on it slightly. So does that mean, because Nunes for me has probably been one of the standouts of the season of players. He's gone leaps and bounds, hasn't he? From when he first started at right back. He's putting some brilliant performances. Not only for his defensive display but also for his attacking display. He's crossed the ball in and he's gifted a few goals this season. So do we still, as well as he's done, are you both basically still saying, but he's still a midfielder playing at right back and we still ultimately need either a right back, or you both still think Kuznov is the short-term option for the bigger games?
I think it's not against Nunes, actually. It's the fact that I think Kuznov gives us what Walker gave us, and that's when we defend a high line, Kuznov has got the pace and physicality to get back, and we've seen it a significant number of times in the last couple of weeks where he's got the pace and physicality to go, a striker gets through, a ball over the top, a ball, through the lines. He's got the pace and physicality to go back and get the ball and clear it. And I think that's going to be critical for us in really big games. And Nunes can't do that. And no one else, maybe Aït-Nouri can, but I'm not sure anyone else in the City side can do it. So therefore, he brings us something I think we need. I think Walker gave it to us for many years, and it was an absolute vital part. Our wins against Real Madrid, we talk about the attacking play, but one of the biggest things against Real Madrid was Kyle Walker absolutely shutting down Vinicius, and in some games even Vinicius and Rodrigo, because he was getting across the pitch and almost playing like a centre-back. So for me, if we were playing Real Madrid tomorrow, I'd want Kuznov in the side, but I'd also want Diaz in the side because I think the experience he has of winning big tournaments, of getting there to the end, I think that's important to have. So were we playing Real Madrid tomorrow and I'm picking the side, I might not pick Nunes. Now, if Guardiola was fit, I might pick Nunes actually, and I might have Guardiola as the left back and, go for things that way. But that's not an option. So, therefore, to get Kuznov and Diaz in the side, but I guess Gay could go left back, but he just seems to have done really well as a centre back. It seems silly to complicate it for him this early in his career, but Gay could go left back with Nunes and have Kuznov and Diaz at centre back potentially. That's the other option. But I would like to see a quality elite defender in one of the fullback positions.
Are you saying basically we have to go out and buy one this summer, or do you feel we've potentially got it with Kuznov maybe?
Depends on Victor Hayes, to be honest. If Victor Hayes is seen as, he's getting absolutely incredible raps. If he's seen as good enough to come back and start in the Premier League at centre back, then maybe you could have Kusanov and Nunes right back. You could have, Aït-Nouri with Guardiola sometimes at left back, and then, swap people around. Possibly. I mean, the trouble is to get a right back now is better than Nunes. They've got to be a pretty good player. You're not just going to go and get a good attacking right back because they're not going to be any better than Nunes. So in a way, we need options, and the attacking right back's Nunes, and the defensive right back's maybe Kuznov. And you could have out and out centre backs in Victor Hayes, Diaz and Gay, and then you could have Guardiola as the defensive left back and Aït-Nouri as the regular attacking left back. Maybe we'd need one more centre back then. Maybe you'd sign another young centre back.
And with that potential, I suppose you'd have to look at O'Reilly then not going back into that, that full-back position at left back.
Well, he can go back there if he's needed, but for me, O'Reilly's a midfielder, and I think he should be. I think we should be not building our midfield around him, but I think we should be looking at him as a midfielder for the next 10 years. But we know if it comes down to it, and we have injuries at left back, and we sell Ake and Guardiola's injured and Aït-Nouri's injured, we know O'Reilly can go back there and do a fantastic job.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things we've always said about our players, that a lot of them are very versatile and can play in several different positions. So that's great for us. I mean, for me, I still think it's early to say O'Reilly has definitely got a starting position in the first 11 going forward. I think for the rest of the season, yes, possibly. But, I look at it and we know Pep has adapted and brought in. We have to look at Rico Lewis at one stage where he was one of the first names on the team sheet when he first came through. And we were all lambasting him and going how brilliant he was and how he was a player that we felt was going to be the future of City. And then now, I think most of us have accepted that he probably hasn't really got a future at City. So I don't want to rush O'Reilly and say he's going to be the next best midfielder for City, because things can change very quickly.
In my lifetime, Ozzy, 50 years of watching City, I've not seen a young player come in and have the impact and get the games O'Reilly has. Going back to, I guess, the young players I first saw were probably Tommy Caton and Alex Williams and players. I don't think any player has come through our academy or before that, our youth program, and had the consistent games and the impact and the quality, absolute consistency that he has had. Foden came in and he was in and out for 2 or 3 seasons. Rico Lewis came in, had some great games, but he had some shocking games as well. He had some games where he's nowhere near ready, he's not big enough, he's not fast enough. And he came in and out. He played 5 games and he went out for 10, he came back 5. Nick O'Reilly has basically come in and been picked pretty much every game he could have been picked for. He's played every game. He has barely had a bad. You can probably count on a couple of fingers the number of bad games he's had in that time. And he has played in big games away from home. He's played anchoring 6 at Newcastle. He's played a kind of marauding 8 at Anfield. He's played left back, at Real Madrid. He has come in and he's played different positions. He's played them all well. And I think the main difference to me is that physically he's absolutely imposing. He saw off Joe Linton physically at St James's Park in the first round of the Cup earlier this season. And, that was the thing with, Phil was brilliant, but he's small. And so maybe question when Phil came through, was he ready? Rico Lewis is not as good as Phil and he's small. But O'Reilly's what, 6'3". He's fast. He's strong. I'm gobsmacked that there isn't 20 times more hype around O'Reilly than there is. Because honestly, if he was at Liverpool, they'd be talking about the Ballon d'Or about it already. If he was at Arsenal, they'd be putting him in ahead of, Lampard, Scholes in the greatest ever Premier League 11. Like O'Reilly, we cannot underestimate what he has achieved in the year 2025 and is achieving now. Was it the last 2 games, man of the matches and goals, from, a left
Yeah,
back.
no, Rich, I agree with you. I think if he does it, if he finishes off the year strong and starts off good next season, I think we'll see the big hype come to him. For me, he's done such a good job that if, of a combination of Bernardo and Kovacic leaves, I just want one midfielder, right? Or if Rodri and Kovacic leaves, I just want one midfielder. Because of the performances he's had in there, and I think he's shown that he deserves minutes there. So I think if he keeps it up, then I think, he definitely. I think for me personally, I will start him ahead of Reinders right now, going into next season. If he finishes off this way, I have him in a team ahead of Reinders. So that just shows to what he's done. His versatility in the squad. And I think he's, anytime we've asked him to play a position, even 6 at times, he's done it at a good job. So all to him, man.
Yeah, and I'd wager we could start him at striker if we had to, and he could play number 9. I'd wager, we've started him.
You probably wager he could be manager in the next.
I don't know if he's. I don't know. Well, he's a very intelligent footballer. I mean, he's a very intelligent footballer. I'll give him that. But he still talks about his mum too much to be a manager. But he's still a kid. You realise it when you see he is still a kid. But he definitely could play number 9. No question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doubting his quality. I'm not doubting his ability. I'm not doubting the recent performances and the performances put in most of the season. Like you said, Rich, I think there are only a handful of bad performances put in, and most of those performances, I think, is when he's been, down on his feet. He's really struggled. There is no denying his ability. I think the thing for me is that I just don't want to jump on it too quickly because he is still so young. I don't want to say that he's going to be, we're going to build a team around him and stuff like that. I think it's just too early for me for that talk. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but there is no denying how well he's done. Absolutely. Do we worry about the other kind of positions? Because as you said, Rich, I mean, we have got the potential of Savio coming back and Doku, and they're obviously going to add to the team in one way or another. Do we worry because it has been the lack of goals, really, as in Haaland's been a little bit off. Mamouche has really wasted a lot of chances. Do we worry about our attacking threat a little bit going to the Champions League?
Now, I've got a drop, but no, because we've got the best striker in the world. So I think we've got, the 3rd top scorer in the Premier League, the top scorer in the Premier League, one of whom, and he's the best striker in the world. I think we've got in Doku an absolutely elite winger. I think Mamouche is a really good player. I think Foden's fantastic. I think Cherki's possibly the best playmaker in the world. I mean, I'm not worried. I think a few of them have been out of form and not hitting it, but to me, that's the way we do. You have your out of form in Jan and Feb, and then you hit form in March and April. So I've got no doubt Haaland's going to go on a run this week, next week, whenever soon, and he's going to score 10 goals in 10 games, 12 goals in 10 games, whatever. I've got no doubt Doku will have an impact at the back end of the season. I think, Cherki's had a couple of weeks off. I think he's going to come back with some outrageous magic. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident. Yeah, I think good times are coming.
The quad.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I'm off to get some work done. So cheers.
Right, well, thanks for joining us, Rich, and
just Thank you.
We'll see you soon at some stage, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Big up, Rich. Big up.
See you in a bit, mate.
And as
Yeah.
if by magic, his replacement has joined us. The sulky, moody, in his car, round the corner from the Etihad, more than likely, with I think a fag in his hand. Probably a Costa coffee there as well. Good evening, Martin.
Who's sulky?
It will say it was a sensible substitution because of that sweet left foot.
But I
He
don't
probably got
understand
Foden's
the
number on
sulky.
his back of his shirts. You know.
No. I've been on a date with Foden tonight. We had a good chat.
You say you've been on a date with Foden?
That's what it sounds like.
You know, he is my guy and all that.
Yo, Martin, your mic is going in and out, Martin. Unless that's just for me.
Yeah, you're a little bit off, Martin.
One sec. Because I'm not used to this. Hang on.
He's used to running things, not being a guest. So that's what
Mhm.
he struggles with. So, Pat, same question to you, mate. Do you have any concerns around our attack then going into Champions League?
Around our attack, no. I think attack-wise, I think we're becoming a multi-headed monster in a way. I think once Jeremy Doku gets up to full match fitness again, I think we could be absolutely ruthless in terms of how we play, how we go forward. And we only need Erling Haaland execute to be up at about 50% in terms of executing his shots and that, and we could be a ruthless attacking machine. I think at the end of the day, the most important thing is as long as we can still have some sort of dominance in the midfield, I think it's just going to make our job in defense a lot easier as well too. So I have no questions or no problems with the attack. There may be some games where the attack doesn't quite come off. Maybe some players are better suited to different positions than others. I'm thinking like maybe a Doku over a Marmoush or vice versa. So that remains to be seen. But in terms of the depth that we have, I think it's going to be it could be absolutely ruthless to the end of the season.
I'm a better now.
Still a bit not great.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
We'll just have to deal with it. Anyway, it's good to have you on, mate. I don't know how much of the show you've watched. You obviously know the subject matters of what we've discussed tonight. Is there anything you want to get off your chest a little bit? I know how much you love to rant, so the floor is yours.
No, I'll do the 115. We'll do the 115 tomorrow. I'm not going to go into that. I'm not even really going to go into it because it's pointless because it's bullshit. It's all bullshit.
The conclusion. That's the conclusion we're going to.
If my auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle. If we're going to do it buts and maybes, well, okay then, we'll do it. I want to do it buts and maybes about everything then following on the rest of the season, but we're not going to do that. So, listen.
Man, it's putting the pathetic in hypotheticals.
Kieran Maguire comes out with a hypothetical question because he got asked and people jumped on it because it's a slow news week. City, the 115 and slagging City off gets clicks and gets views and riles all the City fans up, and that's what it is. It's easy clickbait news. It's not even a debate. I wouldn't mind if it was if they're guilty, if they're innocent. But you just get a 1 hour on if we're guilty.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the innocent part doesn't sell. The innocent part doesn't sell. That's the problem.
Yeah. No, we've made all those points earlier on, mate. But I'm sure, like you said, you'll get into it tomorrow with Tone.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Did the transfer bits last night on the rumours. The only thing we didn't really talk about was Leeds. I heard Pat said about Doku there. Doku's probably still going to be in a couple of weeks away. Sadly, I don't know what that guy's done. He's done some, Pep said he was going to be a couple of weeks. He's turning into a month or two at this point. So every time
wasn't he meant to be back in training this week or something?
Yeah, he's not back. He's not back yet. He's not back yet.
I think the problem with Doku
is, but he's not back.
I think the problem with Doku though is that he's a very intense, high impact player. I think he's more likely to get you know, the odd tweak, the odd injury here where he's going to need a couple of weeks off. I mean, I think for the type of player that he is, I think he needs to have quite a lot of rotation. I think, you know, you can't play him for most of the season. Like, you're going to have to rotate him around a little bit. Because you can't run him into the ground.
It's that pace from the get-go. When you have that electric pace from a standing start, it is going to have effect on your ligaments, your ankles. I know it was predominantly come from the low challenge into his calf, which has caused it, and then he got re-injured again in what game was it? One of the games anyway. Got re-injured.
Was it Bodo? No, he didn't come on.
No, it was before that, wasn't it?
It was at the Etihad. Sure, it was at the Etihad. Can't remember. Anyway, it was shortly after. He got re-aggravated and he's out. One thing I would say this, I heard you a bit on Nico then coming in. I'm with Rich. I think Nico O'Reilly is actually way ahead of even where Foden was in his early days. And I think we've got to push this guy to the moon and back. I hear the reservations on feet on the ground and that. Totally hear that. But for me, I think Nico O'Reilly is going to be a superstar. He potentially could be the best thing we've ever had out of the academy. And that's just because of because he had something that we've not even had from anyone in the academy, which is size and strength and power. He's got it. He's got that brute strength. Generally, a lot of that, and I think that's just the way we've gone down the years. 10 years, it's always been that small, techie baller, as Pat likes to say, sort of player. I don't think O'Reilly's just a techie baller. I think the guy's just very good on the ball. He's a powerhouse who just drives his way through. Very much like Vieira, if anyone remembers prior. I don't mean he is Vieira, by the way. I'm talking about the way he moves and his runs, etc.
I think the closest City player that I was going to say, Martin, was, you know, a bit of a Yaya. You know, we haven't had a player of his stature.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. So, Yaya wasn't a techie baller. He wasn't someone who'd have the close control, take 3 or 4 players on. And I don't think O'Reilly's that. I think O'Reilly's just a straight thing. The one I said it last night. The one
I don't know. I think he's quite skillful with his feet. To be fair to him, I think he's quite good.
The one I worry about right now, and the only one, and listen, I love him. I think he's been a tremendous. He's improved massively. The one I worry about now is probably he's Gonzalez. He seems to have just dropped down the pecking order for O'Reilly, which is the strange one. Well, I suppose we'll see. We'll see with that moving forward. But yeah, for right now, I think O'Reilly's the guy.
Yeah. No, I'm not questioning his future. I'm not questioning his skills. I'm just saying, feet on the ground. You know, he's so young. Kind of build him up so high that he drops very quickly. Because
you don't want to do what we always do: build someone up and then we knock them down at the first stage of, and recall Lewis-esque. I hear what you say.
Yeah, very much like what Pep did with Foden in some respects. You know, he brought him in when he felt he was ready. Now, it could be, as you said, Martin, he could be ready right now. I don't know. But this season, he's definitely he's turned it on. He's done really well, especially to come into that midfield. You know, I think there's one job doing it left back, but then to come into the midfield where, let's be honest, Pep really has to trust you to get you into that midfield on a regular basis. So...
But Ozzy, let's just be honest though. Let's be honest about this. We bought somebody for that position that hasn't lived up to it, and O'Reilly has taken our opportunity.
And that would be the player that I'd be more worried about. I think Nico G has still got a potential future at the club. Reinders is the one for me that I think has ultimately let himself down, and that could be for various reasons, as we've talked about in the past, but. For me, I think he's more likely under threat from O'Reilly than Nico is right now. Because we've seen it from Nico G. We've seen him at times, come in. And we even said at the beginning of the season when Roger was out, he was doing a phenomenal job. And Roger was going to struggle to get back into the team because he was playing so well. I don't think we could say the same thing about Reinders, in all honesty. you know, it may be that next season he turns it on and he has a fantastic season, but just right now, right here, I would be more. If I was his shoes, I'd be more concerned about his future, really, at the club, with the way things are going.
Well, Reinders has got, believe it or not, people didn't realise this. He's got quite a lot of goals and assists. He's one of our top goal scorers and assister in the actual whole squad at the moment, Reinders. And that's with not a lot of minutes either. So I think there's a player there in Reinders. 1,000%. I think there's a player there. Does the style suit Reinders at the minute? Maybe not, because I don't think he's a very physical player. Like I said, my only issue with Nico G is probably he's his agent, and who his agent is. His agent is a bit of a known person. If your guy's not playing, he tries to move them. And it's not even a Gonzalez thing. I don't trust Jorge Mendes. I think he's listen, this guy's a super agent for a reason. He don't mess around. If their guys aren't playing, he moves them. And I don't know why he does that. I suppose that's the way he does it, but I think Mendes will play a part in Nico G's future. Sadly, because I think he's improved massively. I don't trust Mendes.
Yeah. Well, we'll obviously see when it comes to the summer what happens. Is there anything you wanted to say about the Champions League? Because we obviously got into that tonight, and we've had our say. So.
Now you're doing a draw later. Are you doing a draw stream later as well?
No, we're just going to react to it at 2 p.m. because otherwise we're going to be fighting everybody else who's doing the draw streams.
No worries.
Because everyone's going live. Unless you want to do one, you can do. If people want to do one, we can do one. You just have to pick and choose which channel and show you want to go do to watch it, guys. Because trust me, everyone will do the draw tomorrow. Every Liverpool fan will do, and every Arsenal, it'll be like the YouTube will just whack up tomorrow at 11 a.m. But we're live at 2, so we might react to it to them. We'll see in the morning. But for me, listen, I'm still going to say it, and I've not got PTSD over it. I prefer Bodo over Madrid. I'm going to say it right now. For me, Bodo. I think Bodo, listen, as much as I respect him, and I think they've done very good, there's a massive difference playing him over 2 legs when we've already played him and with a fully fit squad. With due respect, we're not going there.
And the fact that first leg's away as well.
Yeah. We've had the shock of going in -4 and having 4 on a plastic pitch. We've kind of done that part now. I don't think Pep makes the same mistake twice. I think he goes there. And the other thing is, anyone who writes Real Madrid off in the knockout stages of the Champions League, then seriously. So seriously, you give me that a wobble. Yeah. I've seen Real Madrid get beat by Sharif and then go on and win the competition. So I don't buy into all this. Madrid are a nightmare. They're in a mess. It's still Real Madrid. It's still
they don't have to be. Man. They don't have to be the best team, but they know how to pick their moments.
No, exactly.
They're the best at it. They're the best at it. Yeah.
Yeah, Bodo have been the best. The surprise package, other than Newcastle, who are the top goal scorers in the whole competition, believe it or not. I think Bodo and Newcastle, it's like, a Newcastle, a Chelsea and Barca worried about Newcastle potentially. You've got to beat whoever you get in this competition. I'm not going to lie. Is it my priority this year? Nope. It's not my priority. And maybe that's what probably gives us a better chance of even winning this, because if you're not all guns blazing on a competition, sometimes you just sneak your way into a situation where you go, all right, we're not expecting that one. Because all your target and your eyes are on, they're on the Premier League, they're on the Carabao Cup final. You were never expected to waltz into a Champions League semi or final. That wasn't on the cards. And sometimes you end up there like Chelsea did. Chelsea just one day blinked and over in the Champions League final. And they had a
PSG last season were like Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in comparison to the first half of the season to the second half. Yeah. But just quickly, we've got a new member. Cornelius Random has just become a member. Big up yourself, mate. Thank you so much.
Thanks, mate.
Much appreciated. Welcome to the family.
Yeah, big off. Yeah, I don't know. There seems to be a bit of awareness around the Champions League. Even at the games, there doesn't seem to be that anticipation around it right now. It seems to be a bit of a lull with it right now. I don't know. I think it's the league.
Because the new format still, Martin. Do you think it's still people getting used to the first stage of it?
No, I think it's the league. I think everyone's got eyes on Arsenal in the league. I think that's where everyone's focus has gone to. Everyone's focus is at Arsenal, 11 games, bang. And I'm just going to say, I think many people look at the Arsenal game in April more important than any Champions League game right now.
Yeah.
That Arsenal game is going to be like red hot fire.
Yeah.
And I think if we won the league last season, and a bit different. I think when you have that year without the title, or you have a year or two without a title, and you've been told you're crap for about 12 months, and you're finished, and Pep's walking out the door, I think it gives you a kick up the rear end to go, all right, we'll show you. And I think the Arsenal stuff motivated him, I think, because Arsenal have done a lot of that. Well, the fans have. I think he's gone, all right, we'll see what you're doing, mate.
Yeah. And as Pat referenced early on, we could be playing them like 4 times quite soon, not only in the league, but also in the Champions League.
We're going to end up with Real Madrid. We're going to end up with Real Madrid, Newcastle, and Arsenal. Might as well just call it a 4-team bloody league. They're the only teams we're playing now.
Yep.
It's like, I'll be honest, it's like the FA Cup 5th round. I don't anticipate us to go up there with our strongest 11.
No.
I really don't.
I'm looking at the Newcastle game, and I'm fifth time we're playing them. I think it's going to go to penalties, and it'll either go to penalties at 0-0 or it'll go to penalties at 4-4.
Well, it's sold out today.
Because either team's going to go hell for leather, or either team's just going to batten down the hatches and just offer nothing.
I always go off ticket sales to how important are. And normally, a Newcastle away trip, people are jumping all over it. The tickets got quite low. They got low on the sales structure, on the criteria.
On a Saturday trip up to Newcastle isn't exactly the most.
No, but saying that, Pat, I think that's a good one because people are having out in Newcastle. And Newcastle's a top night out, to be honest.
Yes.
Make a weekend of it. Jesus, 5,000 Blues on the way up there. There's no work the next day. You can have a few bevies. 5,000 City fans going crazy. I'm quite surprised it got as low as it did. I think that just shows the importance of it a little bit.
Should we move on to Leeds then before we finish up? Because we're going to try and finish soon. So obviously we have Leeds at the weekend. We play them before Arsenal play their game. Obviously, I think most of us are feeling that we've got to keep the pressure on. We've got to keep it within 2 points, especially before we have the game, as you said, against them when they come to the Etihad in a few weeks' time. So is it a must-win? Is it that we've got to keep the pressure on? Can we afford to drop a couple of points? Can we? No.
Must win. 1,000% must win.
I mean, do we feel that we obviously played Leeds, a few months back, and they obviously gave us a game. They were quite, obviously we were beaten in the end, but they definitely gave us a game. Can we see them doing that again, or do you think they're going to kind of, obviously, shut up shop and play for whatever they can to get out of it, even get a point out of it, just so they can.
If they were away,
scrap.
If they were away, I think that Ellen Road, they're going to make it a colder, and they're going to make it as unloving as you could possibly get. The fans are on top here. I think they're just going to make it a proper battle. Let's go for it. Now, that might suit City, I don't know. I said this last week and the week before. I think this will be one of the hardest games we've got left. This, for me, is harder than Chelsea away on Saturday. But it's also a chance to put that marker down for Arsenal when they go to Stamford Bridge right, let's see what you're made of. We can close that gap to 2 points, and we can put all we can do is put pressure onto Arsenal. That's all we can do. We can't, did I have any output on Tottenham? Jesus Christ, did I not think Tottenham were going to do anything? I wasn't expecting Tottenham to get a free kick, never mind potentially 2 goals. I thought they did well getting the 2 goals. Well, the 1 goal and the 1 disallowed, that shouldn't have been disallowed. But I honestly believe they did well doing that. But, any team that made Shocker-X look like a world beater. And Ezzy was crap, and then all of a sudden Ezzy's now a world beater again. I will agree with Troy Deeney on that, by the way. Arsenal fans have gone. I think all football fans are doing that this season. I think some of our fans have done it. 1 minute it's doom and gloom, and out the title race, this player's crap, sell him. You get a big win. He's the greatest player in the world. I told you so. We'll go back on for the quad. And I think everyone's just flip-flopping all over the gaff right now. But no, I think Leeds will be hard. They play 2 up front. We're coming up against one of the informed strikers of the whole league in Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think it's actually been a very shrewd bit of business by Leeds to get on a free transfer as well. I thought was a very shrewd bit of business.
And since they've got him, I don't think he's been injured either.
No.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, Leeds' upturn started with their performance at the Etihad.
Yeah.
They were absolutely sinking before they waltzed into the Etihad, and then all of a sudden, since they got that little, 20 minutes, 30 minute spell at the Etihad, they've gone again. They've started flying. But the most of their points have come at home. The majority of their points are at home. So don't underestimate Ellen Road. That's going to be a cauldron. Under the lights, 5:30 kick-off on a Saturday. That is just going to be fire with fire. That's proper Yorkshire, Lancashire situation, and deal with it as you get out. So for me, I'd go and get a 1-0 win and get out of town. I'm not asked about your fancy football. I'm not asked if we play good for 10 minutes. I'm not asked if it comes off someone's arse cheek and rolls in the 93rd minute. All I want out of Ellen Road is 3 points. See you later. Let's move. Then we move to Forest on Wednesday. Forest on Wednesday is very different. We should be giving them a bit of a slapping at the Etihad. But Leeds away, nah. I'm not anticipating any slapping.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they've only won 1 game in the last 5 games. That was against Nottingham Forest.
How many did you lost them?
3-1. Well, they've only lost 1 game in the last 5, which was against Arsenal. That was the 4-0 defeat.
Mm-hmm.
The last 3 games have all been draws. The last game was against Aston Villa, where they got a 1-1 draw. Then it was against Birmingham in the Cup, and then it was against 2-2 against Chelsea. So, they are a team that I think are able to get scrap out a draw. And like you said, Marty, it's going to be a cauldron. The Leeds fans are going to.
A draw's not good enough, though, was it, for me? A draw's not good enough.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying they are capable. If they can
of course they are. More than capable.
They can get it against Chelsea.
Yeah.
It means.
I'll be honest.
Us.
I told you got my prediction from earlier on. I actually think we'll concede on Saturday. I think we will concede. It's just a case of can we score more than them. For me, maybe people say I'm making over Leeds too much. I'm not saying Leeds United or Real Madrid. This Leeds United is just going to be great determination.
They're plucky. They've been plucky.
Yeah. This is going to be a fight and a battle on a Saturday night in Yorkshire, and it's a short journey. It's 45 minutes up the M62. Sold out crowd. It's just going to be on top here. That stadium. It's just off the motorway. Bang. It's not a place you enjoy going to. You're not meant to enjoy it. I put it very similar to going to like the Den in Millwall for me, going to Ellen Road. With all due respect.
Yeah, no, I get that. Do we want to go into our predictions then? I don't know if you want to go into predictions or you want to kind of guess the team. Anyone want to have a hazard of what team will play?
I've got the prediction table here, but I just don't know if it's up to date yet.
Yeah, it's up to date. I haven't put the lead stuff in yet. That is up to date.
Yeah. No, Meek or second.
so
That's all right.
So
Although, has
Rich
everybody
Black
put their
in front.
score predictions in yet? I don't think Ed has yet. So,
No,
Ed, if you're listening,
I said 2-1. I said 2-1. I think we'll nick it by goal.
I said 3-1. Yeah, Martin said 2-1. Rich and I have 3-1, and Aussie's got 3-0.
Jesus, Aussie's expecting a bloody like Saturday evening here. He's expecting training ground stuff. Go on, bear the ball, slap him around a bit, and go home.
Well, I mean, I think potentially we may face a different team to how we faced them, you know, when they came to the Etihad. The only reason I say that is because they're not, I don't think realistically going to get dragged into the relegation. They're in 15th position right now. They're not going to climb up the table much more than they already are. With the handful of games they've got left.
Do you think they're safe? Do you think they will be safe? Is what I mean.
Yeah,
I think they will. I think they'll just be safe. I think they're not going to go down more than, you know, by 1 or 2 positions if the likes of the others around them, like Nottingham Forest, can get a few more wins under their belt. But I think they are. I think for more, I think it may be that I forget the manager's name.
Oh, Daniel Farke.
Daniel Farke. I think with him, he may look at this and go, we need to kind of, you know, just try and get a draw out of this. You know, a win would be fantastic, but I just think they're going to make it ugly. I think they're just going to make it difficult. I don't think they're going to try and challenge us. I think they're just going to try and equal out a draw, really.
You think they might play a little bit free hit?
With the same Leeds we faced when they came to the Etihad, if I'm honest, I think they're just going to try and keep it, you know, walking away with a decent, you know, score line that it's not against them too badly.
Do you think they might play a little bit free hit?
I don't know. Honestly, I think they're just going to shut up shop. I do. I think because at the moment they need the points. I don't think they expect to get anything from City, and they don't want to lose. You know, I think they're going to try and eke out for a draw because they don't expect to beat City.
Yeah, I don't know, because also too they've got a midweek fixture when we play Forest. They play Sunderland at home too. That might be a game for them where they may see like a really good opportunity to try and get 3 points as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point.
So,
yeah.
Again, I mean, the reason I've gone.
They've got a pretty good run home when you think about it. Between now and the end of the season, some of the fixtures include that they play where they could possibly pick up points. They've got Brentford at home, Wolves at home, Burnley at home, Spurs away. We never know. And they finish the season by playing West Ham away, which could be very spicy, actually, when you think about it, given where both teams are in the league.
Telling me Leeds United could relegate Tottenham, that'd be hilarious.
That would be, wouldn't it? Yeah.
That would absolutely be hilarious.
But then they could also relegate West Ham on the last day of the season too, so I don't know, we'll see. Just quickly, we just had a £5 super chat coming from Outdoor Bench sending support. Thank you so much, mate. Much appreciated, mate. Really,
thank you, mate.
That's fantastic, yeah.
All right, well, we've done the...
I'll buy me another coaster.
It will.
Just you, nobody else.
Yeah, it doesn't. My beer fund's completely gone. Are we going to try and go for a predict the line up then? Martin, have you got any thoughts? Who might start?
The only thing I can't decide is I do think Diaz will play one of them and Kushnoff will play one of them. I can't decide which one they're going to play. I think one will play weekend, one will play midweek. I'll go with Diaz and Kushnoff Wednesday. So I'll go with Donnarumma, Nunes, Diaz, Gay, Aigora, Rodri, O'Reilly. I'm gonna say Foden on Saturday. Semenyo, Cherka, and Haaland.
Okay.
I think Cherky will be on the right. Oh, you can put Foden on the right. Cherky is the 10 and put Semenyo on the left. I just think Bernardo will play Wednesday. I don't think he'll play Bernardo both because of these 2 yellow cards. I think he's so too close to playing 2 consecutive. I do think he will mix the team up a bit with the game on Wednesday as well. I know they've all been away again.
I also think you've got to rest Bernardo as well. I don't think you can keep on playing him and expect the same performances. So
I think he might with O'Reilly as well. He might not. He might like week on Wednesday. He might rest Rodri and start Nico J and Reinders. But the only one I'm not getting again. I don't know. It's Pep at the last 11. He might stick the same 11 out for the rest of 11 games. I don't know. This is the trouble with Pep. We're saying rotate. Pep might thinking you've all just had 2 weeks off. Like, you've had 1 game in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Do you need a rest right now, or because they've all just been? Tell you what, they've had more holiday and some bloody stuff.
I think, Martin. I think what the lineup comes up against Leeds will determine a lot about who we play against Forest, and then who we play for Forest midweek will determine who does the trip up to Newcastle.
Yeah.
So it's just process. I think it's just process of elimination for these next 3 fixtures.
I'm thinking Bernardo and O'Reilly for Forest because of their midfield, because of the Elliot Anderson, Douglas Luiz potential. Not Douglas Luiz. Elliot Anderson. Who's the guy they have? What's he called? No, Gibbs White. Who's the other one? Oh, the guy who dropped into the sticks and allows Elliot Anderson to go forward.
I'm not going to lie, guys. I think he's going to go full team for those 2 games and then rotate for the FA Cup.
Yeah. I think Mamu should be back on the bench.
yeah, I mean that's probably one of my kind of worries is that Marmoush didn't take the chance he had. He missed the games where he started. He missed some really open chances that he could have scored and should have scored.
Ed's gone 2-0.
Yep.
So another clean sheet.
Can I ask you, do you know what I will say? I'm going to bring this up tomorrow, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. You notice it's a lot of our, not this January, but the January before, those are signings that are like, may go, question mark on a lot of them. Sangari, thank you, that's the one.
Yes, Sangari.
That kind of tells me that I'm not sure Pep did have the full green light on any of these signings, a lot of them in that January window. I think we were just trying to fill holes and gaps. I'm not sure Pep had the green light on all of them.
Or do you think they were Pep's plan B signings because he couldn't get what he wanted?
I'm taught the jam when we bought Nico J, we bought Mamouche. Listen, I think they're brilliant players. Do I think Pep fully? Because it's weird if you look at the players who are now starting to go back to the bench, or the ones out on loan. It's that January market bit that are all starting to slowly go back to the bench and reduce minutes down.
I mean, it was just what we needed at the time. I know that might sound.
That's what I mean. I think they were at the time signings and not long-term signings, if that makes sense.
I think the thing you could argue is that we've said it so many times with Mamouche that, you know, him starting over Haaland is just isn't going to happen unless Haaland is injured. Do you know what I mean? Like, or you need to rotate him to give him a rest. Like that's the thing. I think as soon as the likes of Docko is back, you know, I think Mamouche is back on the bench because I just don't think he's turned up in the performances he's put in over the last few games. I think Nico G, you could look at that and go, yeah, he was the player we needed at the time. He was pretty much the best option we could get through the door. But I do think he has shown up. I think he has shown his talent, especially at the beginning of the season. So I think he's definitely a player that definitely could have a future here. And then obviously, you know, Kuzanov and Victor Race, you know, are ones for the future, really. I think those
I think
always.
going to be a blow. I mean, I don't want to get into the Diaz Kuznetsov stuff because I'm bored of that thing. Because listen.
I don't think we need to, Mike. I think at the end of the day, we know John Stones and Ake are going out the door in the summer, realistically. So, you know,
I think the Victor Hayes is the intriguing one. I think Victor Hayes may go back out on loan, but I think he may stay in the Premier League. I think the plan will be maybe send him out in the Premier League. Because the problem is, I don't think he's going to be fifth choice either. This is the difficulty when they've had a taste of first team action. When you've had a taste of first team action, kind of gives you that little bit of a you know, that wanting feeling. And then, oh, you're fifth choice now, mate. That's a bit of a hard pill to swallow. And
what was
crushing off young.
There's playing in La Liga for Girona, then there's playing in the Premier League for City. There's a big step.
That's what I mean. I think I could see him going.
He's so young as well.
I think it all depends on Nathan. I think it all depends on Nathan Ake. Stones is out the door, as much as I hate to say it. I think if they do offload Nathan Ake, I think Vito Hayes will get the call up.
Yeah, because there is a spot.
What do you do? Send Max Lane back out then?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just brought back from Watford to the club because they were desperate at the time.
Yeah.
They even tried to get him back out to Watford. I think Max Lane might even be a sale piece. I think they might even try and get him out the door in the summer for 10, 20 million, whatever it's going to be.
Oh, listen, I didn't think this. I agree with that now. I think there'll be 9 or 10 players will shift out in the summer.
Yeah.
I
think Elaine will. And then if God forbid, if a situation comes up again like it did back in January, I think Mafuni might be the one that is the piece that gets called back.
I don't think Pep will go there. I don't think we'll go with a 28-man squad next season.
No.
Wait, Murray, what did you say?
It might even be less.
I don't think we'll go with the 28.
Before that, mate, you said you agree with who?
Sorry, I got a little bit of static there.
No, because you called me crazy. You called me, delusional.
It's not that. It's not that. It's the fact that you said, mate.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure you'll get more into transfer stuff tomorrow with Tony.
Yeah, we've got a little bit. We've got a few tidbits that we're going to chuck out. Pulpy's joining us as well. Maybe someone else I'm waiting on. Don't know if you're joining us, Ozzy, but anyone's welcome to know that. We'll be on there at 2 p.m.
Yeah. Cool. All right then. Well, unless there's any other business, we'll wrap it there. Really, we can get more into like some of the stuff we've just mentioned tomorrow on the 90 minutes with Tone and a few others. But yeah, I think it's definitely.
Can I just, before you go, Ozzy, can I just say one thing to everyone, just so I can cover next week? I'll just get it out in the open in a nutshell. I know you mentioned at the start. I'm not here at all next week. I'm not even going to be in fleeting visits. I won't even be in the chat. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll be drugged up out my head, nowhere near anyone. So, yeah. These guys are going to run a channel for the next 7 to 10 days. Hopefully, these 7 days. Stall and recovery. So, I'm not going to go into it. They'll have to know what they need to know. So I'm out of action completely next week. There will be the only shows coming up tomorrow, and there will be a post-match Sunday night for Leeds, and then that'll be me done for the week. So I will hand it into the safe hands of these guys for the week.
Yeah, we'll do your prayer as much as we can, Martin.
Can I just say, Rob, can you give us some feedback on the thumbnail? No. Because Ozzy's actually created that thumbnail tonight, and it's very, very good. So you can give Ozzy a little bit of praise and a bit of feedback. You can tell he's had too much time on his hands.
Yeah, I've had to use the rest of my leave before I lose it, so got a bit of time this week.
He's like, before my free trial runs out, let me get on it.
Yeah. Indeed. But yeah, thanks, Martin. I've tried on that. We'll see what happens.
No, that was and that was his first effort as well, so very, very good. Excellent. Ed's going to run stateside for us next week, maybe alongside Pat. So I'm going to give Ed will be hosting. He'll be on camera, not walking the dog, hopefully.
I know
Or on the treadmill.
Tonight.
Are you listening? Like,
I will know next Wednesday. I will be here on camera.
for his post match.
Okay.
So it won't be stateside
with his bad lighting kitchen.
Do you know what Tone said to me? I was trying to tell last night. He went, knowing you're going to find some way getting out of hospital and going to the game on Wednesday night. I won't. He went, I put money on you, try and get to the game on Wednesday night. He went, you'll be like having withdrawal symptoms if you're not going in the Etihad on Wednesday.
Yeah. We'll press you with the wrong question. It'd be like, oh, how's recovery? So, there was a really nice light show. Oh, wait, no, and then one.
Yeah. Hey, that wasn't good. Ambulance on the scene outside the Etihad on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big upgrade from a taxi.
Big upgrade from Cafe. Jackie, not Cafe. Whoa, that's how. Sorry, Kathy in the chat. Jackie, not Cafe.
Jackie, we all know about
all
Jackie.
The best. All the best.
Right along
every bit.
My apologies, Kathy. My humble apologies.
She's just
yeah.
Kathy got excited there. She was like, have I been in a taxi with that? And I'm joking.
Right then, so as Martin said, we'll have the 90 minutes tomorrow at 2 o'clock UK time. So please join us for Martin and Tone.
Yes.
And maybe a few others.
Are you joining us?
I'm going to try, yeah. So, and then obviously, like you said, Sunday post-match, and then we'll do whatever we can during the week next week while Martin's away, trying to recover. Big thank you to everyone who's joined us tonight: Rich, Ed, Pat, and of course Martin. Thank you for everyone who's commented. Thank you for the super chats, and the gifted memberships from Mark Fark. That was brilliant.
What?
And
sponge bath, you mean? Yeah.
What's Foggy done? Oh yeah, Foggy done the usual.
He's done his usual.
10 memberships. He's been here for 32 months. Yeah. Outdoor bench with the super chat as well. Yeah.
We appreciate everyone. Big thank you to everyone, and we hope you enjoyed.
And big up to the lads for hosting. They've done a marvellous job. Big up to them.
Thanks, Gaffer. On that note,
do you know I pay compliments and you come back with a sarky comment? There's no need in that.
I wasn't.